In the U.S., stock index futures bounced back ahead of Wednesday's open as investors await the decision from the latest Federal Open Market Committee monetary policy meeting. In the previous session, U.S. stocks finished deep into the red as the first major sell-off of 2018 strengthened. On Wednesday, earnings data and the U.S. Federal Reserve are set to be at the front of investors' mind. The FOMC is expected to conclude its latest two-day policy meeting. The meeting will mark the last time Janet Yellen will act as chair of the central bank before the role is passed on to Jerome Powell. The FOMC's meeting announcement is set to come out at 2 p.m. Eastern Time. A number of data releases are set to be published ahead of Friday's non-farm payrolls data. Investors will be looking closely to jobs data at 8:15 a.m. Eastern Time. ADP National Employment Report is due out, followed by the Employment Cost Index at 8:30 a.m. Eastern Time. Meantime, AT&T, eBay, Facebook, Microsoft and PayPal are some of the big names to release figures after the bell. On the political front, investors are likely to be mulling over the latest State of the Union address made by President Donald Trump on Tuesday night. And in Asia, most indices closed lower this Wednesday, despite earlier shrugging off the decline seen on Wall Street overnight. The Nikkei 225 closed lower for the sixth straight session after reversing slight gains late in the session. The index declined 0.83% as automakers, financials and trading houses saw losses. Across the Korean Strait, the Kospi gave up early gains to finish the session just below the flat line. The index closed lower by 0.05% despite gains seen in some heavily weighted tech names. In Australia, the ASX 200 edged up 0.25% amid broad-based gains, with the exception of the energy and materials space. The Hang Seng Index rose 0.86%, with financial stocks mostly higher. Mainland markets finished in negative territory. The Shanghai Composite closed 0.19% lower, and the Shenzhen Composite fell 1.66%. Despite the declines, blue chip names recorded gains in the session. And back here in Africa, still talking about markets, optimism about prospects for Ghana's economy has proved a tonic for Accra traded stocks. The country's benchmark index now sits atop the world as January draws to a close. The Ghana Stock Exchange Composite Index has gained almost 20% since the year began in dollar terms, the most among benchmarks tracked by Bloomberg. The Ministry of Finance forecasts that Ghana's economy will grow 6.8% this year, while the central bank foresees inflation in a band of 6% to 10% by the end of the year, down from 11.8% in December. And the South African Central Bank is investigating whether Steinhoff had breached any exchange control laws or regulations. The South African Reserve Bank said it was ready to cooperate with local and international regulators as well as law enforcement authorities investigating Steinhoff. The bank also says were Steinhoff to collapse, it would not result in financial instability. Meanwhile, Steinhoff International said on Tuesday it has informed the Dutch Authority for the Financial Markets that it will not publish its audited 2017 consolidated financial statements by January 31. Steinhoff said it would only do so as soon as it is able to do so. And Vodacom Group, South Africa's biggest mobile phone operator by market value, has reported a 6.7% rise in its third quarter group revenue, buoyed by an increasing customer base in its home market. The firm said group revenue rose to 22.6 billion rand in the quarter ended December 31 from 21.2 billion rand a year ago, while service revenue increased 5.5% to 18.4 billion rand. Vodacom added 2.5 million group active customers during the quarter, with 1.6 million from South Africa and 0.9 million from its international operations. The company now has 73.6 million active customers across the group, up 13% year on year. In the meantime, India's largest telecoms operator, Bharti Airtel, does not see much value in buying debt-laden Nigerian rival Nine Mobile and withdrew from submitting a firm bid before the deadline. Barclays Africa is examining takeover bids from prospective buyers for Nine Mobile However, a deal may take a few months as it will involve restructuring Nigemobile's debt after a default last year. Airtel had expressed an interest to acquire the Nigerian firm as part of plans to consolidate its position in Africa's biggest telecoms market, but it declined to submit a financial bid before January 16 deadline. Bharti Airtel, headed by Indian billionaire Sunil Mittal, last year reported a 30.8% fall in first quarter net profit, blaming an adverse foreign exchange impact on Nigeria. We'll take a quick break. When we return, Moroccan kaftans bring in much-needed revenue for the growth of the economy. Do stay with us.